Good evening. I'm Air Force Sergeant Hugh Morgan, along with Army Specialist Bob Lawrence.
This is the story of Apollo 12, a 500,000-mile round-trip voyage from Earth to the Moon. The mission, achieve man's second landing on the lunar surface, lay out a complex scientific instrument package, visit the 1967 Surveyor 3 spacecraft, collect and photograph rock and soil samples, and return to Earth. The participants, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and their subsidiaries at Cape Kennedy, Florida, the Manned Spacecraft Center in Houston, Texas. The voyage of Apollo 12 involves a complex network of scientists, technicians, and engineers around the world, providing a continual video and audio link with America's moon men. The astronauts, Naval Commanders Charles Conrad, Mission Commander, Alan Bean, intrepid pilot, and Richard Gordon, skipper of the command ship Yankee Clipper. The scene is Cape Kennedy, November 14th, 7:22 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and CBS commentator Walter Cronkite describes the launch of Apollo 12.
Of Apollo 12, there was no show of the excitement to come in the way one event routinely followed another during the countdown this morning. The main anticipation was the arrival of the first President of the United States to watch a space launch from the scene. The first thing we saw this morning was the familiar steak and eggs breakfast for the crew. Mission Commander Pete Conrad, rookie astronaut Alan Bean, and Richard Gordon, the stay-behind fellow who circled the moon while the other two land on its surface. And here they are, the astronauts, as they have reached the White Room level, walk across that catwalk from the elevator to the White Room itself. First man in will be the commander, Pete Conrad. Dan Rather, I gather you're there at the Kennedy Space Center, there at helicopter side.
That's correct, Walter, and it's pretty drippy out here at the moment. It's been raining for about the past 15 minutes. Everyone who has one has his umbrella out, has his raincoat on. As you see, the President has his raincoat on. Mrs. Nixon is raincoatless, although a Secret Service man is opening up an umbrella now for both Mrs. Nixon and Patricia Nixon as they step off the helicopter.
Coinciding with the President's arrival, a rainstorm swept the area, bringing the worst weather ever for a launch. But the decision was go, and shortly we'll watch the launch as Wally Schirra and I described it. Just after the Saturn Apollo disappeared into that low cloud cover, lightning struck near the spacecraft, although exactly how close is still being debated. You'll see and hear Conrad, that is, say a few seconds later that he has lost his inertial platform and the spacecraft power system has cut out.
10, 9, 8, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engines running, commit, liftoff. We have liftoff, 11:22 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Pete Conrad reports that your program is in. Tower clear.
I'm pitching a roll program, and this baby is really going. Okay, we just lost the platform, gang. I don't know what happened here. We had everything in the world drop out. Roger. +1. Fuel cell lights and AC bus light. Fuel cell disconnect. AC bus overload 1 and 2. Main bus A and B out.
At a news conference after launch, astronaut Tom Stafford described the emergency procedures taken by the spacecraft crew.
At the time when they lost the 3 fuel cells and the 2 AC buses in the spacecraft, a lot of lights come on and the warning sounds go off. I think Pete Conrad and the whole crew should be really commended for keeping a cool head there and reacting just like they should, since our own instrument unit went out and started to spin on him. However, he was looking at the rate gyros as the backup instrument, made his own analysis real fast and said, let's press right on. At that time, then Al Bean was able to reset the fuel cells, and by the time that they got past staging, they had the AC buses back on the line working 1, 2, 3, 4. I think this also brings out the point that when everything just went boom like that suddenly as far as the loss of power, and all the other indications is an example of why we have experienced test pilots flying these vehicles.
President Nixon watched the launch outside in the rain. Sometime later, when everyone had caught his breath again, the president visited launch control.
America, the United States, is first in space. We're proud to be first in space. We don't say that in any jingoistic way. We say it because as Americans, we want to give the people of this country, and particularly our young people, the feeling that here is an area that we can concentrate for a positive goal. Concentrate and be proud of being Americans. Be proud of what we have accomplished, not only for ourselves, but for future generations and for the whole world.
Well, all's calm now. The spacecraft has left Earth orbit and is on its way to the moon.
Well, Houston, Chris says he doesn't think you guys are the same age as when you got up this morning either. He is absolutely correct. In fact, I wish you guys play us that DSE tape back tonight. All LT kept saying was, there's power on the buses, there's power on the buses. And every light on the right-hand side was lit. I kept thinking, why is he saying that to me? That's beautiful.
This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News, Kennedy Space Center.
Saturday, November 15th. The first on this flight is the free return trajectory. By firing a rocket early in the flight, the Yankee Clipper is headed on a more precise course to the moon. David Shoemaker of CBS News follows the rocket burn.
It was only a small rocket burst as these things go, but what a difference 40 miles an hour was to make for Conrad, Gordon, and Bean. With the television camera mounted securely over their shoulder, the astronauts ran through the checklist, preparing to become the first men to leave the so-called free return trajectory. In the past, our spacecraft always have had the capability of swinging around the moon and returning to Earth automatically if anything went wrong. Now, Apollo 12 was to be committed to a path that did not guarantee a safe round trip, although plenty of backup procedures remain.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, flashing 99, 0, 2, 1, ignition, run. Ball valve, okay, other ball valve, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and all ball valves off the pressure. A-banks off, very good.
After yesterday's trouble-filled beginning, the flight is now settled down to the usual routine. The astronauts have the afternoon football scores and are looking forward to a shave this evening. The only thing out of the ordinary today was Conrad's flight cap, which has sprouted a propeller on top. David Shoemaker, CBS News, reporting.
Monday, November 17th, the Yankee Clipper orbits the moon. Charles Conrad aims a small television camera at the lunar surface, and the view is spectacular.
There's a whole bunch of areas in here, just looking out the window generally, that give you the feeling that, as we've talked about with the geologists, that some of this is volcanic action in here.
Okay, now we can see a crater just to the left of the screen there that's rather poorly defined, and there appears to be a good-sized rill or fracture running across the floor.
Can you see the straight wall now, Houston?
Yes, sir, we can see it very good, just beyond that large crater with another smaller crater in its rim, and we can see the wall on beyond it.
Picture that, anybody know? You got this little chart right here. We've been, since the update, we've been here 56 minutes, so use the 56-minute data. Thank you. We're going to move off the straight wall now, Houston, and look down at a crater. I don't have my chart here, so I don't know the name of it, but it's got extremely well-defined terraced walls. It's got a nice central peak in the middle. And let me see if I can get it better for you. There it is.
Oh, right, we have a
And
good
it
one
also
there,
has a nice crack right down at the bottom.
Right, we
That's
can see
a
that.
pretty impressive-looking crater. Sun's getting a lot lower now as we approach the Terminator. Things are much more in relief. Let me point the camera back past the straight wall again. Let me give you another view of that because it's coming into even greater relief from this angle. Then I'll go back and give you your horizon because that's one of the most impressive things right here. Take a look at those mountains.
We have them.
Some of those mountains we talked about earlier that look like from a distance like little clouds over the Mare. You can see how bright they are relative to the Mare surface. And maybe even on the TV they look like puffy clouds. However, they're not. They look like pretty hard rock down there.
Right, I understand they are not clouds.
Let me show you some more of these clouds. I think you'll like them. They just seem to be large bumps on top of the Mare. Here, let me show moistening over here. There you go. Boy, it's beautiful right here. Look at that crater.
Tuesday, November 18th. The story of undocking and landing, told now by CBS cameras, simulation, and Harry Reasoner.
Apollo 12 moonwalkers are in a rest period now before their scheduled second stroll early tomorrow morning. It's only the second time in human history man has reached the moon, but world reaction was interested, not wildly enthusiastic. Something quite normal for America, according to a student in Warsaw. But it wasn't normal, not for anyone. The first